Hey, what's goddamn going on, YouTube? It's us morons. We're back again for another least popular thing we do, live YouTube broadcast of Dead Metal Dicks.
I thought you were gonna say Tub Girl.
It's just, yo, my man, we should. You gotta do a Tub Girl photo shoot, man. Give it to people what they want.
Oh, what? A Tub Girl myself, man. Fuck that. I'll be in a room when it happens. I'll be like on the verge of running, but excited about it.
You're a tub girl. You're a girl in the tub.
Chubby babies.
Man, woody woo, it's gonna be a fun podcast tonight. Recording the old Castorino. We're doing one of the foremost satanic panic things.
Yeah. Which is so good because it always involves AC/DC. Whenever we're doing it with Satan, right? Like AC/DC.
I don't get it, man. I don't fucking like AC/DC, dude.
Angel child, devil child. That's what that means, and that's where we're gonna go from here.
I've tried so many times. I've even been like, yeah, I like AC/DC, of course, but man, that shit's not for me, dude.
I don't mind it, man, but I mean, I would really listen to other shit.
I definitely, yeah, you're right.
Thin Lizzy.
If it's on, yeah.
We'd rather listen to Thin
Yeah,
Lizzy.
of course. If it's on, man, and then that's it. That's alright, I guess, but I'm fucking over it.
I don't know, man. They got some heavy riffs.
I believe it. It's just fucking. It's the same song over and over and over and over.
Yeah, I mean, the same drum beat, really, is what it is.
The same fucking riff, too. The same everything.
It is.
Every time I shared to the fan page, when they see that boost post button, I just get fucking infuriated.
Yeah. Well, there's a reason for that, because it's bullshit.
Fucking right. Eat my ass out, take a bite of my bung. All right. Do the mic check. Man, I'm pretty much ready to rip it.
Okay.
What do you think, buddy?
Let's go.
Eat my ass out, take a bite of my bung. Welcome to Death Metal Dicks. Classic Satanic Panic one-part banger tonight. We're headed to suburban New York in 1984 to find out if there's a satanic cult sacrificing teenagers to Satan in the woods.
We could only hope and we only pray.
Did Satan finally find a crew willing and worthy to serve him via human sacrifice? Or did a bunch of kids go way too hard on the drugs that they weren't prepared for? We're about to find out after this. Just want to tell you guys, we had a great first live show this weekend. Thanks to everybody who came out. We saw tons of you guys that listened to the podcast. Kat, the Bradshaws. I'm gonna forget everyone else.
My homie Renee. Yeah, man, it was fucking good shit, dude. It was fun.
Yeah. Format was cool. You know, we did a comedy show. We had our producer Mark, me, Sam Talent, then brought everyone back out. And I figured the first one would be a total disaster, but it wasn't bad at all. I'll have that. It'll be up by the time you hear the podcast. If you're watching on YouTube right now, a good time to let everybody know who may not know that we are on YouTube live every time we record the podcast. I've been told it's hard to find, but you all have Facebook. You're telling me on Facebook it's hard to find. I put the link in every time. So if you want to, check it out, man. Get a subscriber, take a look-a-roo. We got some other exciting news to talk about this week. Well, we were approached by like a PR firm, and they like what we're doing, which I assume that they just probably looked at numbers of metal podcasts and landed on us, and the guy got in contact with me, and he wants us to start interviewing some of his bands, and they're from all different record labels. It's Metal Collective I don't know if I'm explaining things the right way. Anyway, bottom line is this. We're going to start being pretty involved with things like reviewing records, interviewing bands, and we're going to put that out to everybody as mini episodes. So the first one we're doing is Harikiri for the Sky, and they sent their brand new record that doesn't come out until February 14th. I think it's actually a different day than that. That's just Valentine's Day, so I said that. February 6th, it doesn't come out until sometime next. What is February?
It's February, yeah.
It's February 20th. That's what it is. And so we're going to do an interview with one of those dudes all the way from Austria on Skype on Wednesday. And that will be put out as a mini episode. So if you're subscribed on iTunes, as you should be, and your feed pops up mini-sode, that's what that's all about. That's a pretty fun post-black metal band. And then
You mean Monday the 5th.
What did I say?
You said Wednesday.
Oh,
That's
I can't
all right.
stop. I just can't stop.
That's okay.
You found out that it wasn't Wednesday. Whatever. Who gives a shit? Here's the deal. When you see that mini-sode pop up in your
Watch it.
feed,
Listen.
take a listen. And then we're trying to build up our YouTube. Neither one of us are good at social media stuff, but we've got a couple of videos on there. We've got like our top
Albums of 2017. There's some other shit on there.
couple of reviews Buddy did. And if you like hearing Buddy read, you'll love those. And then we're going to review Harikiri for the Sky's brand new album, Arson, sometime this week, and we'll put that up on YouTube. So be looking forward to that. Be looking forward to us working with more bands. I think that's makes sense for a merge. I mean, that's, again, what we're trying to do is make a metal community, so the more we can be involved, the more we're trying to. So if you're interested in anything like that, just shoot us an email at deathmetaldicks@gmail.com. And of course, we appreciate you guys listening so much. This is the best. We're having a great time. If you want to help us out, the easiest thing to do is just get on iTunes, give us a 5-star review, and type anything you want to in the comments. You can give us a cool review or type in what your favorite type of fart is, or tell us how your aunt's fucking weird pussy scratching stick was on top of the toilet your whole life.
You smelled it.
Yeah, I did. That's why I thought about that. I was thinking about that at work today. My aunt used to have like a stick, like a branch, with a fucking torn off corner of like a washcloth or something, rubber banded around it, and it was always covered in like Vaseline or something. And I just didn't know. I didn't know what it was for. Like, was she Vaseline in her asshole and couldn't reach? I just never got it, dude. I would think about it all the time. And one time I gave it a smell, and holy fuck, man, it was rough.
Man, that sounds weird.
It's super fucking weird, dude. I don't know if she was cramming it up there. She didn't know about dill hammers or something. I really.
She was like watching a National Geographic thing on monkeys. I was like, oh, monkeys do that. I'm gonna start scratching my bum with this shit.
But yeah, I don't, no one knows what iTunes is doing algorithm-wise, but I do know for a fact that what drives us up in the charts and what helps people like yourselves be able to find us just by giving us a quick search is the reviews and the ratings. That just moves us up. Like on your Facebook feed, you know, when someone likes your post, it pops it back up top. Essentially the same thing is going on with Apple. So it's not to stroke our ego and make us feel like, hell yeah, 5 stars, and these guys love us. I mean, we like that, but the main thing is it just helps us on the business end of things, and, you know, we're big old business boys.
Yeah.
And some people that like what they hear on the podcast and are sweet satanic angels and just want to help the crew out. You know, we put a lot of time into this podcast. I just made a post about it online, so I say the same thing twice, but you may not follow me, but like this weekend, I worked on Thursday at my regular job. Left from there, drove 5 hours to a comedy club, did 5 shows. 4 of them were sold out. The Thursday one wasn't, but there's still a ton of people there. I did 30 minutes of comedy on each show, and got wrecked after every single one of them. Slept until noon, woke up and did it again the next day, which sounds like nothing, but that shit's tiring as fuck. Comedy for 30 minutes is hard to do. If you're good, you know, it's just a give and take. And then after that, we piled in the car. Me and Sam Talenton drove down to do the show and the live podcast. So we got up, drove 3 hours to that, set that whole thing up, get our recording equipment set up, did the show, got done with the show, and hung around with all you guys for like 2 hours, and then drove back, dropped Sam off at the airport, I ended up getting to my house at 4 a.m. I woke up at 6 a.m. to go back to work at my regular job. And then after I got off work at that job, I had booked a closing out the show in Tulsa that they have there on Monday nights, which is a great show. Met a bunch of cool people. So if you're listening because we met this weekend in Tulsa, welcome. Glad to know you. Glad to have you aboard. And then drove back with my buddy Hunter, who opened for me. He went all the way to Memphis. He's the true soldier, but drove back that night. And I live in Hot Springs, which is an hour away from where I work, which is why I wake up so early. So to cut some time, I was like, I'm just going to stay at one of my friend's house in Little Rock. And I couldn't wake him up, and I was just stuck up there. So he's got a 2-level house. The bottom is an apartment, and what would just be the upstairs of a house is an apartment, but they're separated and cut off. So I went up the stairs, and they just have like a 2-foot by 6-foot landing. And I couldn't get him to come to the door, so I just put my fucking backpack down and slept right there for about 3 hours. And then went to work, and then came home, and then had to work on the goddamn podcast. So I put a lot of work in. That's all I'm saying. You know, if it's just not trying to sound cool, but if you're into this, everything helps. Reviews. We've got some real sweet satanic baby angels that get onto our Patreon, which is patreon.com/deathmetaldicks. At least take a look at it, because I do an extra podcast there every week where I just kind of go through all the true crime stories and riff on them a little bit, so you get news and a little bit of me being a silly fuck. And then there's all types of other tiers. We're going to tell you about who all of our highest tier patrons are at the end of the podcast. There's a lot of cool stuff I think we got. We got stickers, and we're working on getting more merch. That's the only reason why we're doing any type of fundraising, is just to further the podcast. So we've been able to get stickers, trying to get shirts, working on websites. All that stuff, unfortunately, costs money, and we just want to have cool shit to give to you guys, and then you guys to like what we're doing enough, just like, you know, a band would. So we appreciate any support that we can get. Like I said, patreon.com/deathmetaldicks. If you feel so moved to donate, a few people have found it easier to go through PayPal, and our email address is deathmetaldicks@gmail.com. Just go right through that. And if you're a real fancy boy, a couple of people have gotten at us through Venmo, and you can just find me, Christopher Pierce, Kristofer Pierce. If that's something that tickles your fancy, no pressure. We just appreciate you guys listening so much, and we love doing this, and just doing the work. Having more time to do the work and having a cool products to send you guys is all we're trying to do. All right, so this week, gave you that sweet intro. We're talking all about Richard Allen Kasso Jr., a.k.a. Ricky, a.k.a. the Acid King.
Such a cool fucking name.
Yeah, dude. Ricky was born to a school teacher and a football coach in Northport, New York on March 29th, 1967. Now, North Point is an upper middle class suburb about 90 minutes from New York City. It's where families want to have access to the city, but have enough money to want the country life family experience. Like any suburb atmosphere, it seems safe enough to let kids roam free. All the kids in this town are pretty wealthy, so the freedom gets abused as they grow into rebellious teens, get all hot and horny, and get bored with all the regular shit that they've been spoiled with their whole life.
Yeah, I mean, sex is pretty much the thing when you're a kid that just keeps you going, seems like. You know,
yeah, man.
Domino's pizza guy, you're like, cool, man, I got this here cheese pizza, and then you're fucking thinking about Miss Claremore in your English class. It's not that hot, and you realize it when you get older, but you've been jerking to her, you know, and you're like, fuck, man, I want to get up in that fucking English pussy, but you can't.
Well, it's an unrelenting boner. I mean, especially before you have any sort of sexual experience. You have no idea what it feels like, and it just... it's a constant drain on you, just having a hard fucking cock,
drain.
Or perhaps a wet puss, whatever you got down there. It just is, never stops when you're a teenager. Just a powerful horniness that drives all the stupid shit that you do all the time.
Yeah.
You can't even help it. It's just the way your body works. It's the way every teenager's body works, which is horrifying because I got 2 kids. You got 2 stepkids that are at someday going to go into puberty, and teenagers are nightmares, man.
Yeah.
They're just a fucking mess. I remember, you just want to fucking sit around and smack your dick with a remote control. You know what I mean? It's a
yeah,
horrible process. And I just hope, I mean, it's not that I hope my kids aren't like I was when I was a teenager, but I hope that I'm cool. Like, we were raised by grandparents. They didn't give a fuck. They're too old to relate and care. I just want to be cooler than that because, Jesus Christ, man, I just felt like I was in a desperate state all the time with no idea what to do about fucking anything.
Yeah, I remember my grandpa would be like, "You take a lot of showers."
Man, remember that one time, dude? One time your grandpa was like, "Red Bird's in there, just take a shower." So I fucking was trying to sneak up on you, dude, and I did sneak up, but you didn't even know I came in because I was gonna scare the shit out of you. Because, buddy, if you're ever in a bathroom around Buddy and you can't deadbolt the door, he'll get in there. I don't know. I've always done it since I met. If you're showering, shitting, pissing, doesn't matter. Buddy's gonna pick a stupid fucking head in there and make it weird for you. So one time I thought I was gonna get him back. And I sneak into the fucking bathroom, and he's in there blaring like Exodus or some shit, and he's up on his fucking tippy toes, jacking off hard as fuck. And I was behind him. I just got the fuck out of there. I didn't say anything. I didn't tell him about it for months. It's like, God damn it, man. The joke's on fucking me again, dude.
Yeah, I'm fucking blasted the hell out of that shower. I go to the shower, no shower.
Oh my God. And then Ricky has super strict football coach dad. You know that type, man. He probably calls anything new to his life gay. Probably calls Ricky a faggot. Probably expects Ricky to play pro football and get all A's in school. Like a Hank Hill type of strict asshole, you know?
Yeah.
Ricky gets tired of that guy's bullshit quick. Starts listening to some cocaine tunes like Ozzy, Maiden, AC/DC, Judas Priest. Then, of course, at age 11, he starts smoking weed. That's a quick jump into that, don't you think?
I thought how old I was when I first tried weed.
That makes sense.
But I think the first person I ever spoke was my mom, so.
Yeah, that really makes sense. And then he started drinking at age 12, so he's partying hard. Getting fucked up eventually becomes Ricky's main passion in life. And he's into heavy shit. LSD, mescaline, PCP, really whatever he can get his hands on. Quickly, Ricky figures out the best way to be cool is to sell drugs. Plus, selling drugs keeps drugs on hand, and you don't have to get a job to pay for them.
No.
And he's selling them for cheap, too, man. He just wants to be the guy. He wants to have drugs, and he's not trying to make money. He's just trying to make friends. He becomes the fucking guy in town, you know what I mean? That guy. You know the fucking guy. Yeah. Driving a Camaro and shit.
Fuck, man. The Camaro, dude, the Camaro is the fucking... It is, remember that motherfucker that used to ride that... He had the yellow Camaro, dude? And it was like, there's this shitty classic rock station. It was called Magic 105, but he had a Magic 105 Camaro. Oh, dude.
Yeah, we would see him every time our way.
And he would just be blasting Scorpions. Yeah. And he had some rockin' ass mullet, man.
Yeah, he was living the lifestyle.
Ricky Kasso would have made it, dude.
Yeah, well, being that Ricky was on the same path as most TGIF bartenders, you know, the ones in their late 40s who do coke and try to go home with big ladies or anywhere that their kids are not at.
Yeah.
Either that or the TGIF fucking bartender is the uncle of the century. Ricky drops out of school, and his parents have him admitted to the South Oaks Psychiatric Hospital, formerly known as the Amityville Asylum.
Damn. Like where? Oh, fuck, like where Amityville is? Like the Amityville Horror House? Or?
Have you ever heard of another Amityville?
Yeah, I mean, there's gotta be.
But have you ever heard of one?
Probably.
And did I tell you he's in New York?
Yeah.
And is the Amityville house in New York?
Is it in New York? I thought it was in Jersey or some shit. I mean, same area, same shit. Everybody smells all garlicky and make fucking Alfredo sauce.
You know, I know that you can educate people and help people learn a lot of things and do a lot of things, but reasoning and on-the-fly thinking and putting things together. How do you get someone to do that? If you have that information, deathmetaldick@gmail.com, and I would really like to get Buddy to start moving along on his feet.
Yeah. The problem is I'm not drunk tonight.
Yeah, that could be true. So, the main difference is